Here we go!
Go the first, we'll do the
Welcome back to MMA Unhinged, and joining us today is the former unified welterweight champion, Pat Pytlik, and Pat's going to be fighting Andreas Gustafsson at the Dana White Contender Series. So, Pat, welcome, and thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah, no worries, man.
So what are you doing at the moment? Looks like you're out about. You're outside with some friends. How do you spend your Saturday?
Yeah, I was just chopping wood for my brother. He's getting married, so we went out suit shopping. And it's just got steaks on the barbecue, and life's good.
Oh, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So how are you feeling? I mean, you're preparing for to fight for a UFC contract, and we've seen on the Dana White Contender Series how things can go well, and sometimes things don't go your way. So, how are you doing mentally preparing and physically preparing?
I after that last fight that I won, I got the contract, but for me, like, it wasn't enough. Like, I thought that I would get signed right there because I did that Dana White's looking for a fight or whatever. Yeah. And he picked two of us. So it was like, okay, like, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but, my job's not done. So the guys are asking me, like, why aren't you celebrating? Why aren't you out there having beers in the crowd with all the guys? I'm like, I didn't do anything, right? I didn't accomplish my goal. So I just went back to camp on Monday, and I've been in camp since January 23rd, I guess it would be. Yeah. So.
Yeah. In another interview, you talked with James Lynch about if you were hoping that if you got a first round KO, which you did, you were hoping you were going to get that contract. Obviously, things didn't go the way you wanted, and you're going to be going the Dana White Contender Series route. So, I mean, because you're going to be going through that, and I know you're confident in your skills, does that change anything? Are you still content with that?
Yeah. I mean, of course I am, but I just mean that's why I went back to training, right? That's why I went back to camp, because the job's not done. So, yeah, but I guess the job's never really done. It's just one fight to the next. It's but that's being a fighter, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Let's run it back to Unified 55. That night in Toronto, you signed to fight somebody on that card. Did they tell you that this was gonna be the Dana White's looking for a fight, or you were just signing for the fight? It was just gonna be another fight.
I think there was hints of it, but honestly, I can't remember. I can't entirely remember. I was supposed to fight Faye Burso for the title, right? And
Yeah.
then he pulled out on me, and then they couldn't find her. He pulled out the week of the fight because he had holes in his retina or something. So, I mean, it's legit, and he hasn't fought since. But it kind of fucked me over a little bit because then we couldn't get an opponent in time. And then the next unified wasn't for a bit until January. So, it just stretched things out for me. It just put some obstacles in the way, but it's all good. Here we are.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be fighting for the contract. So,
Yeah.
that being said, after you get that spectacular knockout, did you get a chance to talk to Dana White at all? And what did he say to you, if you did?
Well, yeah, he said, we weren't really looking for 35-year-old welterweights, but with a fight like that, how could I not sign you? And then there was like a pause, and then he's like, it's the Contender Series. So I'm like, all right, let's go. But yeah, this is just another chance to fight in front of Dana, and like I already did it once. So if anything, I have an advantage over my opponent. I don't know if he did fight in front of Dana White, but he's definitely gonna have a bit more pressure on him if he hasn't. So.
And I mean, let's talk about pressure. So now you're going to be going in this next fight. Do you does it also give, like, even talking about the fight that you had, when you knew that Dana White was coming, you had your game plan, but did that add any extra pressure that okay, I need to get a spectacular knockout or put on a really good performance, or you just stayed focused on your fight?
Honestly, it's just another fight. It doesn't matter who you're, what level of fighting you're at. You're always going to feel those same feelings, right? Whether I was like an amateur kickboxer, pro kickboxer, Alex, smoke that over there. You're always going to have that feeling, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's just another fight, honestly. Like, I'm just trying to control what I can control, and go in there and do my job, do what I always do best, and go for the win.
For sure. We've seen we've seen quite a few Canadians going through that route with the Dana White Contender Series. I know you've trained with one of them. That being said, when you watch these fighters go through this uh this show and become successful, and now they're successful in the UFC and they're really climbing the rankings, does that give you any extra motivation when you're going into this fight?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also, like financially, I would imagine it's going to help me a lot more, just
Hmm.
because I have more exposure. I'm not just some guy that's got signed to a last minute fight. Nobody knows who the fuck you are, and whether you win or you lose, usually if it's a last minute, you're matched up with somebody who may or may not be of the same caliber, and maybe you only get one or two chances to perform, and if you don't perform, then you're out. At least with the Contender Series, I get a little bit more exposure. I get a chance to fight. Yeah, I get a chance to fight in front of a lot of eyeballs where people get to know who I am, because all of the story leading up to it and all the interviews and all the background that you get, right? So I would imagine that helps, but you know, I don't get paid to fight. I get paid for the inconvenience of not having a life.
And it's the life that you it's a fighting life, right? I mean, it's part of the job, it's part of the sport.
That's right. That's it. So
Yeah.
everybody else is going through it too, right?
Hmm.
At least at my level. But that's this is what the path I chose for my life. So I'm happy with it.
I'm glad to hear that. And speaking of which, with Canadians, it seems like there's this reemergence with Canadian MMA, and especially with a lot of these Canadians getting into the UFC. Do you think it's just a coincidence, or do you think it's just a new emergence? Do you think that UFC is really trying to push back into Canada again?
No, I just think we have a lot of talent, and I think the next generation that's coming up is better than the one that came before, and it's just going to continue in that direction, right? We have so much talent out there. I could name off a bunch of guys that could make the UFC. Like, it's so competitive. Yeah, the future is bright for Canada in the mixed martial arts world, for sure.
And you look at your guy, Andreas Gustafsson. He's got a 70% finish rate. I mean, I think your resume speaks for itself. Is this kind of the exciting fight that you're looking forward to, and could be a potential fight of the night or fight of the card? I don't know what they do for the Contender
Oh well,
Series.
I mean, I don't care about that, right? I'm just going in there to finish him, right? I don't care if I don't want it. I don't want it to be a competitive fight. I don't want it to be even close. I hope he's fucking sick. I hope he comes in with the worst day of his life, and then I knock him out in the first round. That's what I'm hoping. I don't want to go have a bloodbath and take brain damage and years off my life. Like anybody that says that, you're a fucking idiot, in my opinion. But no, I just want to go out there and showcase my skills and take as least amount of damage as possible. Because fighting, as far as life goes, fighting is just a blink of the eye. There's so much life left, right? So no, I don't. I'm not looking for a war. But can I go? Can I do that? Like, do I have that dog in me? Yeah, I've proven that too. But it's not. It's not optimal. So
Yeah, it's not definitely not the game plan. In response to that, what kind of message do you send to maybe some of the young guns that are coming up in the as a prospect, getting up there, that just want that kind of mentality to get in these wars and putting on the show for the fans?
well, you're gonna have a short career if that's what you're looking for, right? That's your guy who's not protecting his face. You're not learning proper defense. The best boxer of all time will be, in my mind, Floyd Mayweather, right? He got in, made millions, didn't get hurt, and he got out with his wits and his faculties, right? That's a successful fighter. A successful fighter is a guy who can call his coach in 20 years and have a normal conversation. If you can't have that, then you fucked up, right? Doesn't matter how much money you have, right? If you can't remember anything, what does it matter, right?
For sure, for sure. Comparing Andreas to other opponents that you've had, do you feel like this is your toughest fight of your career so far, or what do you think about your opponent?
In my mind, I always play that. I always put that in my mind, whether it's true or not. So I train as if he is the toughest guy I've ever fought. Going into the fight as if he's the hardest hitter I've ever fought and the most dangerous person I've ever fought. And that's my mentality. So if he's not any of those things, I'm already mentally checked in. Like I already have a competitive edge in my mind. If I come into that and he's just subpar or whatever, right? You know, I'd rather have that than the opposite. You know, than underestimating somebody and it's the second round I'm getting thrown in my head and it's like Jesus Christ, you know. But yeah, no, but I do think he would be one of the better fighters I've ever fought for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tony,
No,
my phone's dying. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
this is just, I mean, this is just fancy here, but let's just say that, you know, you're not here to fight, and or let's say you don't have to you don't have to fight, but you're talking to Dana White in just a job interview, and you don't have to fight. What would you have to talk? What would you have to tell Dana to convince him to sign you to the UFC, and what you could do in the UFC?
Well, I mean, you said it. You said it already. Like my resume speaks for itself. I'm an exciting
Yeah.
fighter. I try to keep it standing. I train 90% grappling, but all of my fights are by KO, right? Like all of my fights are. I go for the finish. I try to be as exciting as possible without getting hit. I try to be a tactician, but I mean, yeah, my resume speaks for myself. Like I can only be myself. You know, I'm not trying to be anybody else. If you like what you see, I would love, you know, I'd love to get the contract, but if not, you know, it is what it is, right? So, yeah, you know, I can only be myself. I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to try to, you know, sell myself and try to be something I'm not, because, you know, when you're not genuine, people can usually pick up on that anyways. So, yeah. Sorry, did I answer your question?
No, you did. You did. And that being said, I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you're out and about with people. But that being said, you look, and I know you don't want to look too far ahead. I know you're focused on this fight. But that being said, when you look at the welterweight division, the UFC, you know, there's been a lot of changes in the last maybe just year with the contenders and the champ and whatnot. What do you think about that division? And would you stay at welterweight?
Oh, I think it's a strong division, and yeah, I like you know what, you said it the first time. I don't want to look past this guy, but I tell you what, let me get through this guy. We'll do this interview again, and then I'll tell you what I actually think.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Pat, like I said, I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you're out and about with people, so I do want to thank you for being flexible with the time change and whatnot. And you know, just good luck on the Dana White Contender Series, and
Hey, thanks, man.
please for all the Canadian fans and all of Canada, bring us back a win.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it so much, and like I said, let's do this again after the fight.
Excellent, Pat. No, and we definitely will. So good luck, and we'll talk again soon, man.
Okay, talk to you later, buddy. Thanks.